Japan is a beautiful country full of beautiful people, but it's also a country where your actions are watched very closely. In Japan, there are many things you can't or shouldn't do, and some things that might seem culturally acceptable in other countries aren't allowed here. In today's video, we'll review a few examples of what the Japanese consider rude. Welcome to our channel, where we share with you all of the amazing places on this planet. If you're new here, we trust you're going to love this video. And if you're a subscriber, thank you for coming back. Without further ado, here we go. Number 1. Pointing at people. In most cultures, pointing is considered rude. However, the Japanese take it a step further by considering it incredibly offensive. Japanese people will not point at each other or objects around them to get their point across. Instead, they'll use their hands to beckon someone over if they want them to move closer. Or they'll indicate something using a gentle wave or writing instead of pointing with one finger. Tourists also should refrain from pointing at Japanese people or themselves when talking about something, because this could be mistakenly interpreted as an insult towards others in the group. If you do insist on pointing at yourself while chatting with your friends in Japan, make sure that you use your forefinger and touch only its tip against your nose. This is the only good gesture when you want to refer to yourself without talking. Number 2. Leaving a tip. Many countries worldwide believe that tipping is a kind gesture, but there are some exceptions, like Japan. Although tipping in restaurants is uncommon and looked down upon, in some countries like Norway, you aren't allowed to leave a tip for good service in Japan. In fact, if you leave any money on the table after paying your bill, they will probably think you've forgotten to take it with you. This is because Japanese statements already include a service fee. Tipping isn't customary here as elsewhere in Asia or Europe, or even North America and South America. So no matter what you do, keep that extra cash in your pocket. Number 3. Pouring your own drink. The most well-known thing not allowed in Japan is pouring your own drink. The practice of serving your own drink is discouraged because it's taken as an act of selfishness. While you should fill the drinks for your friends, it's important to remember to leave your glass empty. It's also important to note that when it's time for someone else to pour your drink, they will hold onto the bottle with both hands, as is the custom in Japan. Therefore, they won't have any means of holding your cup down to avoid spillage. However, you can't participate in the act of your drink being poured at all. So if you want to prevent spills, make sure to ask someone if they can hold the glass with both hands, of course. Number 4. Not bringing a gift when invited to a Japanese person's home. Gift giving is an ancient tradition in Japan, but it only works if you stick to the rules and customs of this practice. For example, you shouldn't bring anyone flowers unless you know their meanings, because some are associated with death and misfortune, according to Japanese superstition. It might take a lot of work to navigate each one on your first try. Instead, try the traditional rice cakes, which can be found at Japanese grocery stores. Make sure to buy them before your trip because they must be eaten at room temperature within 2 days after opening the box. Another gift you can bring to a Japanese housewarming is pottery and anything handicrafted. The Japanese value craftsmanship, so your unique gift will stand out to your guest more. When presenting your gift, use both hands, as this is considered rude if not done so. The recipient will also likely use both hands when accepting your gift, so you don't have to worry about which hand goes where. Remember, if anyone gives you a present in Japan, you must return the favor with equal value, meaning you should provide them with something as valuable as what you received. But don't try to give people cash in Japan because they might be unable to understand the gesture and think you're attempting to bribe them. Number 5. Blowing your nose in public. You might think blowing your nose in public would be a common practice, especially if you're sick. After all, it's something that people do to breathe better. But the Japanese don't do this because they care about other people's health. They're a populated nation and don't want to risk spreading germs. The Japanese are very concerned with hygiene and cleanliness. They wash their hands after every activity and always make sure that they keep their hands sanitized, especially before eating. The practice helps avoid disrespecting the food and the people they share the table with. This is because they don't want to make other people sick. The same goes for blowing your nose. The Japanese don't want to risk exposing anyone to germs by blowing their nose in public, where other people could quickly get sick from someone blowing their nose. Instead, they only blow their noses in restrooms or use a mask. The latter became more popular during the COVID outbreak. Still, with the pandemic slowly dying down, people started to go back to using masks less. However, many still wear them as an extra precaution against getting sick from the flu season, which lasts for several months each year. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that subscribe button for more content like this. It really helps out our small channel, and we appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. Number 6. Bringing a coworker to your table at the bar. The Japanese believe your personal and work life should be held and celebrated separately. Therefore, it's against their customs to bring a coworker to your table at the bar. Japanese culture believes such interactions will damage work ethics and create an unhealthy boundary system for your professional life. This is why many people avoid bringing a coworker to their table at a bar. This is especially important if you're in Japan on a business trip and you happen to stumble upon someone you work with during an outing. The polite thing to do in such a scenario will be to acknowledge them with a gentle hand gesture or nod to avoid further contact. So don't walk up to them or say hi in loud and vigorous manners, as this won't be received well, and it might even damage your professional relationship. Number 7. Walking and eating food. Did you know that it's considered rude to walk and eat simultaneously? You might think walking while eating is a normal thing, but in Japan, it's not. The Japanese government has banned this activity because it is considered rude and unsanitary for people and animals to walk around with open food containers or boxes. So if you want some tasty Japanese food on your trip, you'll have to wait until you sit at a restaurant or bar before digging in. And even then, don't expect much flexibility. There are plenty of rules about where to eat your meal. In many restaurants, customers are expected to finish their meals before leaving the table, so get ready for some speedy dining. Also, note that most establishments will provide disposable chopsticks. This is done so that customers can enjoy their meals without getting grease all over their hands or fingers. Again, a standard hygiene practice. Number 8. Napping on the job or in public. When people think of Japanese work ethics, they imagine sleepless nights and long hours at the office. This may be true for some workers in Japan, but it doesn't mean that everyone works this way. The Japanese are very strict about work ethics because they believe that good work is produced when you're alert and attentive to your tasks. Therefore, sleep is also essential to the Japanese as it evokes mental stimulation, improving productivity levels during waking hours. This forbids napping at work or in public places as it could result in a loss of productivity due to reduced focus from overexhaustion or just plain laziness. If you nap at work, the Japanese will question your diligence and work ethic. If you fall asleep on public transportation or park benches, for example, they might even think you're homeless. Number 9. Pushing through crowds, rushing on escalators, and squeezing through people on trains. In Japan, rushing to get places is considered rude. People will wait patiently in line without breaking the queues instead of pushing past each other. This is because it's disrespectful to their personal space. The Japanese value personal space a lot, so they exercise it daily. This is why if you push through crowds or run to get somewhere, it will make you look like you're disgracing the Japanese culture. Suppose you really are rushing to get somewhere. In that case, you could use kind and calm gestures to ask people for more room on public transport or directions to your destination. Number 10. Using your camera flash indoors. Flash photography is not allowed in many places. This includes museums, zoos, and other public places. While flash can be helpful when taking pictures at night or in dark locations, it's also considered disrespectful to the work of art and the artist. Many people believe that flash usage distracts people from living in the moment and appreciating what they are looking at. This is because flash can cause eye strain if you get too close to your subject while using your camera's flash feature. Even worse, it could lead to permanent eye damage. As you can see, navigating your way through Japan as a tourist can be challenging. However, it's possible. Here are a couple bonus pointers to make your travel easy. 1. Always use the little money trays when making a purchase. Never directly hand your credit card or cash to an employee. When you do this, remember to use both hands. Number 2. Don't use public transport in Japan without a mask. As mentioned earlier, they're earnest about their hygiene, so boarding public transportation without a mask can get you in trouble. But you can also get in trouble for being on the phone. At the same time, you ride public transport because the Japanese see this as violating privacy. So remember to put your phone on silent. Number 3. Make sure to practice your chopstick skills before you travel to Japan. Every food establishment offers disposable chopsticks, and you'll be considered rude if you don't know how to use them. If you're visiting Japan, there are a few things that may surprise you. However, the different practices should not be too much of a problem if you respect the culture and remember to keep your camera out of sight when indoors. Comment below if you've been to Japan and seen some of the things we've talked about in this video. And if you enjoyed this topic, you're definitely going to love this other video from our channel. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want more content like this. If you have other destination suggestions, why don't you tell us below? See you soon, and until then, bon voyage!